Okay, so we're gonna go into our leaves now. A chisel style. We need some floating medium in there a little bit. Wake up that pile. Add a little bit of yellow or a little bit of white to change them up a little bit. We'll go with a little bit of white. And add a little more yellow to the other style of leaf. Okay, so we're still using citrus as our base, but we can change it up a little bit. Okay, so to set our main branches where you want them to be, okay, so we're going to just put our little tiny chisel in there just to guide us. And then we can pull out another one and curl that right around the little half flower there. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of layering. And you can start with the bottom one, if you, whatever one you think is going to be under. Okay, so we're going to start doing our little pressures. I often, like, I'm trying to stay out of the wet paint here too, so I find a spot that I can lean on, that I can put my little baby finger on and rest it so that I can get the accuracy. Alright, so if you're floating up in the air, trying to stay out of your wet paint, you know, you might not get that same kind of look and pressure. So you got to ground yourself somewhere, or let things dry, and that way you won't touch them. Okay, so like I said, this is a little bit smaller than our practice set we were doing, but again, it depends on where you're putting them, right? So I want to layer a little bit more focus of this bigger one on top. Right, so I'm just going to start this one and then work on the one that's going to be on top. Sometimes we can get 2 strokes out of our little tiny daisy ones because we're not pushing very hard, right? Pick up white every once in a while. And then when you want to layer, you definitely need to make sure that you have that white in there, so then it stands out on top of the other one. Okay. Again, we can layer a little bit on our flower and over onto the other stem of it. Work our way down. Put a couple just to fill it in. Okay, and then sometimes I'll just dab a little bit of the dark there just to give it a bit of a base. Add another little one there. Again, I was trying to be little, but I overstepped myself. So again, just grab another brush, erase what you don't like. Not a big deal. Okay, so then you can decide if you want to add any areas that have big spaces. Put a little different curl into a few of them, right? Then we're going to curl this one from the bottom under. White. alternate. Should have done this one first for you guys. It was easier, right? Than the overlap one. Try to make them a little bit tiny bit bigger too as you get closer to the base. Overlap just to finish. And you can always layer a few on top of each other too if you want a little bit more of a 3D look. Right, so you're just going to touch just a couple smaller ones in front. Okay, and definitely you want to punch them up a little bit more with some white. And cross over them so that you can really see the direction change. Let's have one that's got a spill over there. Curl it really curl it over. Okay, but try to leave some space in between too, so they look like all little separate leaves. Got a little bit of paint on here. Just using my buffer. All right, my fingers probably. And here it's gone. Okay, so that's our bigger leaves. And then now we can add a little bit more yellow. We need some fresh yellow. Brighten this green back up again. And then we can put in a little bit of a stem on this guy here. Okay, so we gotta try and get in there. So we can just do more of those little daisy punches. We'll do it with the dark on the top. Okay. Just to give it a little bit of a stem. And then grab a clean brush and erase it off of your poppy so that it looks like it's behind it again. Okay, so now we want to put in a few of those other leaves. Again, some of them can be a little bit more yellow than others. Spread in. One that maybe comes in like this, you can do just a little tiny guy. Overlap a little bit if you want. A little bit too gloopy, so if you are too much paint, like I said, the sealer really makes it slipperier and so much easier to paint. on the paper. We'll pop in our stem. And I want to put another little tiny one over here. So again, we're just trying to make the small ones. More peak. Curl it in there. Put another one over here. If they're small, you can sometimes do them all in one stroke, all the way around, and yeah. And let me put another one over here. So your design, depending on how big you make yours, I'm just going to try and fill it in. Okay, and then you're going to try and visualize your triangle formation for all your designs, right? So I've got one here, one up here, right? So I've got triangle over here, and usually there's odd numbers, but you know, you can definitely when you have this busy of a design, they're not really counting anymore, right? But you do try to keep them spread out so that you can see almost your triangles. And then I'm trying to decide with one more for space too, right? Put some more of those filler leaves in there. Put another one will overlap these two. Okay. So you guys are getting me deciding on the fly here too. Said sometimes I just do a rough idea in my head on what I want to do, and then I do the class then I do the design, show you guys, and then I end up doing 2 of everything. So when I do this kind of class, hopefully you guys are liking that I'm designing. This is kind of how the process goes when I'm trying to come up with new stuff for you. That isn't, that's original. Okay, so there we've got our 5. One's kind of layering over another one, makes it look a little bit more interesting too. Alright, so let's go and get our size 8. Or if you want to make them even smaller, you can make them all with your size 6. And again, if you're not sure, you can always add more chalk lines and, you know, to remind yourself where you want to put all these little extra. But you're trying to encourage the design to still go in that like S formation too, right? So we want to have one that's going to curl around and add to the back here. Okay, so we're just going to pull a stem coming up. Okay, work on one stem at a time if you want. Pull. All on one side if you want. Can't see it, then maybe you need to come a little bit heavier. Again, if you're not happy with something, it's because it's a little medium in there, so sometimes we squish out differently or we don't like it. I'm going to erase it. What are we going to do? Make sure that they were perfect. Alternate. Now you'll know that you have, maybe a little bit of room if you wanted to pull another stem and just do a couple over in here. And we want to pull another one coming down and under. Pull. Up to your point. Push. And also put in like a little bit of a smaller one here. Peeking in. Here. Just a couple fillers now, just in small spaces. And then we're going to add those other little flowers too. So we can layer those in a few spots. Put some more there. Okay, so we have our main focus here, a couple fillers there. And then if we feel like we still want to add, a couple more fillers, you can always add more of those later. Make sure, it's not going to be too busy with all your other little flowers here. And make sure that these are dry where you want to add your little flowers. Yep, right direction that I have, okay. There, wake up our little side to side pile. Add a little bit of white to it. Put a couple little flowers over here. Add some little tiny half flowers. Layer them. Remember, sometimes these colors you have to go over twice. So try not to make them too thick. And just expect to go over them twice. Okay. Layer. Here. Take a lot out of there. A lot of times, like I said, I know I'm gonna have to do a base coat on here. I add some white in there, fill it in, get that coverage started, and let it dry. And then come back. Layer, another little one over here. You can always just do like little half flowers in places too, right? Just peeking out. All one there. Try not to pick up green in my plate now. You don't need too many of these little guys, you know, just a few here and there. Put another little half one up here. So I'm gonna put some fresh white on my plate there. I'm gonna go and do the second coat. And get some better white in there. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry.